There's never a good time. There's never a good. You never have enough time or enough money. Like
That's right.
it's. You're not gonna be like, oh, I have all of this free time. I should get pregnant.
And
like,
I have all this free money. Maybe I should just put in a child.
All of these additional resources have come up. Like, this is the perfect time.
I don't got it all planned out, but you know, I just watch it all pan out, 'cause I know that you know, covered in this life until forever.
Listen, I am so excited. We have Brooke DeVard here at the Cool Mom Code podcast.
Yes.
I have been waiting for this one.
I'm so excited to chat with you, and I feel like you do it all as a mom, so you're very inspiring. So I feel like I'm going to learn from you too in this conversation.
Like talking to I swear. Honestly, I'm really excited for this one because you, I feel like, are one of our beauty gurus.
Thank you.
I mean, you really are. You've capitalized this space and really made it your own. And I think people really go to you to kind of like hear all the things. But before we get into that,
Yes.
Brooke has her own podcast too, guys. So
Yes, Naked Beauty every Monday.
Beauty. So everything I'm going to be asking Brooke tons of questions too, like off camera, just about her podcast as well. But where are you from? Minnesota. Minneapolis, Minnesota is where you're born.
I was born in Minneapolis, then moved to New Orleans, then moved to New York when I was 7. So
wow.
Yes.
Okay. So born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm born in Detroit. So I'm a Midwest girl myself. So
how long were you there for?
Well, I was there my whole life.
Okay.
Yeah, Detroit my whole life until obviously I went to college. I went to college in Chicago. Then I was in New York after that, and then started my career, and then now I'm in LA.
Yes.
But how is it growing up in New York as a kid though? That's got to be a whole different experience.
It's interesting because you don't know anything different. So people will be like, oh, was it hard growing up in an apartment? And it's like, well, you don't know anything else.
Yeah.
After school, you went to the playgrounds, you went to the park, you went to the museum. There was so much to do.
Yeah.
So I actually felt like it was a great experience growing up in New York. I will say that you were exposed to a lot more. So you're exposed to art and culture and fashion in a way that had I grown up in New Orleans or Minneapolis, I don't know if I would have been exposed to it to that degree. So it was fun. I mean, I had a really large sense of the world.
That's right.
I think from like a very young age. And I always think of New York as almost, even like beauty experiences in New York, it's like a microcosm of the world. I would go to 125th Street, get my hair braided by the African hair braiders. Yeah. I would go to nail salons. They're speaking in Vietnamese. You know, like you're exposed to so many different cultures living in New York.
I think that's what I loved about New York when I was there. I lived there for like a good 10 years, but I was older. Like I could appreciate it more, you know, like I enjoyed all the cultures and the food and like the ethnic, like everything was just so vibrant and it's just such a hustle and bustle. But I could never imagine being like a 10-year-old on the subways every day in New York. It's just a whole different way of like growing up. Do you feel like you grow up a lot more independent quicker?
Interesting.
Because the reason why, when I was in New York, I would see 10-year-olds on the train by themselves.
By themselves, yeah.
Riding to school, taking the train as if it was a school bus. Like it's just there's a different way of this that the city moves.
Sure.
And even if you're a kid, you still fall into
it. Yes. And I remember like walking when I first was allowed to walk to school by myself. I lived like 5 blocks away. It was like, I don't know, I was maybe 9 years old. I would meet a friend and we would like walk to school together, and that was like a big thing. But yeah, going on the subway. Now I had the unfortunate experience of wearing a uniform to school, which I loved wearing a uniform.
Girl,
but
unfortunate. I loved that.
Well, let me tell you the unfortunate part.
Yes, tell me your
Schoolgirl
take.
Uniform plus teenager plus subway.
Yeah, yo.
I mean, it's like exposure to sexual harassment from a young age, which
is different.
That's different.
Yeah.
You know, and just having to be really mindful of your surroundings at a young age, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're one of those women who could really go anywhere and you're always like, you take note of everything?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's so funny because now I've been here in LA for a year and I'll be in Hollywood. I'll be like, oh, I'm just going to walk down. It's 2 blocks away. And they're like, don't walk.
Yeah.
Don't walk. I'm like, what? They're like, get in a car, don't walk, it's not safe. And I'm like, it's not safe, it's broad daylight, it seems fine. They're like, no, it's not safe.
Wow.
So I've had to also kind of like retrain myself to, because in New York, I always feel safe.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where I am in New York.
Brooke now lives in Los Angeles.
Yes,
for
I've
the
been here for a
past
year.
Right? Yeah, that year went by fast.
It went by fast, but we were doing home renovations, so
Yes.
it's like a year and 10 years
Yes,
all in
exactly. You're like, it's a year, but it felt like 30.
Right.
No, I can only imagine. So that's interesting. I always think it's interesting, especially when I meet people who are raised in big cities like that, especially New York. I feel like you get the best of both worlds, but then you also grow up a little quicker because, like you just said, you're more aware of things quicker than, say, someone who was raised in the Midwest like myself or something like that. Yeah. So I think there's a way that you get to see the world in a different way from a young age. And do you feel like that helped you move into your career choices?
Absolutely. I mean, I think my parents did a really good job of exposing me to a lot. So like we were going to Alvin Ailey, we were going to the Studio Museum of Harlem. We were always exposed to arts and culture, and I fell in love with fashion. So I was able to intern at places like Vogue and Ralph Lauren while I was still in high school. Right. Because I had a place to stay.
Yes. Yes, that's the lucky part.
And I modeled when I was in high school. I was with Ford Modeling Agency, so I would go on go-sees after school. So I had a lot of exposure to the fashion industry from a young age, like starting at 14, that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, and I just feel like, see, that right there, I didn't have that exposure until I was like well into my 20s.
Right.
Well, yeah, early 20s, because when I came to New York, but one thing we didn't have, we were hustling and bustling because we didn't have a place to stay.
You had to pay the rent.
We had to pay that rent.
Real.
We had to pay that rent.
That's very real.
You know, I remember eating off bagel and butter. That was my thing. Going to the bodega, eating bagel and butter.
Well, that's the thing about fashion internships. There's so much built-in privilege because they aren't paid, right? And so you either have to have a family that is wealthy enough to get you a place in New York City that you can live and easily get to the office, or you have to be from there. But there's a lot of built-in privilege there.
How was that experience, though, as a teenager? I mean, going into that side of the fashion industry, listen, we all know, and I know as a model, I modeled for many, many years in New York City. The fashion industry is no joke, and all sides of it, from the modeling side, in front of the camera, from behind the scenes, editorial, from the office, the magazines, all the things. It is no joke. It is a cutthroat industry, and you weed out the weak. To be honest with you, you really do. So being in high school, how was that experience walking into that sort of world?
Yes, I loved it. Yeah. I loved it. I think my first, I did 2 internships at Vogue. My first one, I was actually 19, so I'd started college at that point, but it is cutthroat, but I am so grateful for the work ethic it gave me. There are a lot of young people now that don't have that same work ethic.
Girl, tell me about it. Girl, tell me about it.
So you were never, ever, ever coming to your boss with any problem. If a problem came up, you solved it, and then maybe you let them know that something came up and I've already found a solution. Anything you were asked to do, you just immediately said yes, and then you figured it out later.
Right.
And I also took it as an opportunity to study. So even when I was like working in the closet, hanging up garments, it's like, okay, study that this is a bias cut gown, and study how Galliano's silk is different from what Marni is doing. And you're around this stuff. You may be making photocopies, but look and see what's on the documents that you're photocopying, and what can you absorb from being in this environment and take it as a learning experience. One of the things they had all of the interns do when you first arrive at Vogue is you get everyone's coffee order. You go down to the Starbucks.
Oh my God, it's just like the movie.
It's just like the movie,
it's
yes.
It's just like Devil Wears Prada.
Yes.
Brooke, you are living like Devil Wears Prada. Talk to me more. I'm so into it.
And a lot of people resent it. It's like, oh, I've got to go down and get everyone's coffee. But what they're really doing is they're giving you exposure to the major editors for a chance to introduce yourself. Say, hi, I'm Brooke. I'm a new intern here. What's your coffee order? And they may like half look in your direction and not even make eye contact. But it's really your opportunity to introduce yourself to the senior editors and to do a good job getting their coffee order, because they all have complicated orders and you have to get it right and you have to get it up quickly. But it's like you have to take these little moments and opportunities as lessons and ways to grow, versus thinking like, oh, this is such a small, I don't want to get coffee, I don't want to hang up garments,
like
I don't want to.
You're too good for it.
Right.
I want to do the better things, the cooler things, the more important things.
You don't get to do those until you do the small, less sexy things first.
Wait a minute. So is that like a lesson in life? Is that how did you take that in other ways and kind of in your career and in your home and like, how you live your life now, it's about the small things to get the bigger things, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I started my podcast in 2016. I got a mic off of Amazon on GarageBand and I just started doing it, and because I know how to edit my podcast, because I was editing it for so long now, of course, I have editors and I have help and I have support, but I know how to do every aspect of my job. I was a social media manager. I talked to so many people that have to like hire social teams to like just show up as themselves on the internet. I feel grateful that I know how to do all of those things myself because I was a social media manager for 3 years of my life.
Right. No, I mean, I feel like that's interesting. I mean, yes, you've had these roles in your career, right? And in the workplace that have really laid a foundation for what you're doing now.
Yes.
And I think that's fascinating. When you were at Instagram, because you were at Instagram for a minute.
Yeah, 4.5 years, almost 5 years.
That's a long time.
It's the longest I've ever stayed at any company.
Really?
Yes.
But how does it jump from, take me there, how does it jump from fashion, right? Because you literally could spit out all the fashion brands right now. If you're listening to this podcast, you really need to turn on the podcast on YouTube and see what Brooke is wearing and how she looks. She's just every time I see you,
oh, thank you so much.
You look like you've just walked out of a magazine.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if that's the case. But I do love fashion. I think when I started to have some sense of reality around how much the fashion industry pays and just being totally transparent.
Yeah.
I was like, I would like to make more money and I would like to be able to afford the clothes in
that you're
the
wearing.
magazine.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
I still love the fashion industry, but I was like, okay, I don't want to work in a magazine. That was like the first thing. I think starting salary at Vogue at the time was like around $25,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's low.
Yeah. And it comes back to the point I was making about privilege. Certain people can take a job like that.
In New York City.
In New York City, right.
Where rent and like the cost of living is so high.
I mean, you can apply for government assistance at that salary in New York City,
Wow. And be working at Vogue.
And be working at Vogue, right?
Wow.
But I think for a lot of the people that go into these industries, again, that's just like money to buy shoes. It's not like the money they need to survive, right? Because they have other and I was in a very fortunate place as well, but I did know that I wanted to make a little bit more money.
Yeah.
So I looked at working across marketing more broadly, and I wanted international work experience. So after I graduated, I went to Stanford for college, and then I moved to London.
Oh, nice. Okay,
yes.
great. So
yes.
So you really took that whole New York, growing up in New York, being so culturally and worldly aware, and you moved to London.
Yes, I moved to London. Initially, it was to work at Burberry. But then I had issues with my work visa. When you work abroad, you have to get a certificate that basically says no one in this country can like do the job like you can as a foreigner, right? Like why should a foreigner get this job versus someone? And it was an entry-level position. I was just out of college.
Yeah.
So I ended up working at Nokia for their entertainment marketing team because they were launching a music streaming product in the US to compete with Spotify and SoundCloud and all of that.
Right.
So they were like, okay, we need someone that has specialized knowledge of the U.S. music market. So that was an amazing experience. I met my husband. He was living in New York. I moved back to New York once we got engaged.
You met in London. He was living in New York.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And he had lived in London like 2 years before. So we were like kind of ships passing in the night. And I went to work at Ralph Lauren. I did social media for Ralph Lauren. Then I went to work at Viacom.
So right away, you turned the whole love of fashion and those fashion brands into, you really tapped into the social media aspect of it and the marketing aspect of the brand and fashion.
I always knew I wanted to do digital. That's all. I mean, growing up, that's like, I had a blog. I was always on the internet. I wanted to do things around digital. And I also loved how quantitative it was in terms of like you have the analytics, you have the number of views and clicks, like you could basically demonstrate the effectiveness of your marketing and make a case for yourself. So I loved doing social. Working at Ralph Lauren was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, a really, really strong brand. I think so much about what it means to have a strong brand and a strong brand identity. And I think so much of that I learned at Ralph Lauren because they are so rigorous.
Yeah, they are.
They're so rigorous and thorough about maintaining the brand.
Well, they're also one of the longest, highest quality brands in the market.
Yeah,
I mean, you think of Ralph Lauren in the American market, it's just classic American.
It is very classic American. Yes. And to do home and kids and women's wear and men's wear at different price points, but still have that like halo of the world of Ralph Lauren.
That's right.
And for Ralph, I think the thing that always amazes me about him is everything is a movie. Like every collection he designs, he's like, it's a movie in his head that he wants to bring to life. He's not a technical designer.
Right.
People give Pharrell a hard time now. Oh, he's a designer at Louis Vuitton. He doesn't. It's like so many of these designers, they have
creatives.
vision.
That's right.
They have a vision, and they can get people to execute that vision. So it taught me a lot about not necessarily feeling like you need to master everything. You know, you can bring people along to help execute your vision.
Let's talk about that. Hold on, pause on that.
Yes.
Because that's a good one right there.
Yes.
It taught you that you don't have to be a master at everything. You can bring people along to help you bring your vision to life.
Yes. Having a vision is the most important part, though, because what I've learned is a lot of people don't have vision. A lot of people don't know what they want to stand for. So people are like, I want to start a brand. What does it stand for? How do you want people to feel when they come across your brand? What is the environment you want to create around your brand? You have to be really crisp and clear on that.
Right.
And then once you're clear on that, you can get people to help you bring that to life. But you have to know what the end result, what your desired end result is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, it's interesting. Something Oprah said recently, though, caught my attention too. She said that someone asked her, did you know that all of this was possible? And she said, no, I had no idea. I just followed the light. So like she had vision and she knew, but she didn't know to that extent of who she would become. And she just kept on following the light. I like the idea though, having vision, you have to be able to have the vision to know where you're headed. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's something special. And then you jump into Instagram. Like you're over at Instagram.
I worked at Viacom in between, so did more entertainment marketing work, and then Instagram to launch IGTV.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that there was a team dedicated to helping creators. This idea of creators and influencers, this was 2018. It was kind of like a new space. And it was just amazing to me to see how people were able to build an entire business and brand for themselves from their room at home. I mean, 16-year-olds that were making millions of dollars just being themselves and sharing with their community and creating video content.
Wow.
So it was very inspiring.
World.
Yeah, it was very inspiring. And I loved working with the product teams. And I had the most amazing manager at Instagram. I met her at Viacom. And you know, you have these people in your career, you're like, I'll work for you anywhere.
Yes.
So it was a wonderful experience. And now I'm on my own working on Naked Beauty, building my brand, creating more content around beauty and inclusive beauty content.
When did you start becoming a content creator yourself, though? Was it through this whole process of, I think that's an interesting point because, you know, you're in the workforce, you're in corporate America.
Very much.
And so many moms are, but then they have so much they want to share on social. When were you doing that all along?
I was doing it all along. I've always been a person on the internet, but I will say that it is so important to have something outside of your main job to keep you creatively satisfied, to keep your passion and your spark, even if you're not monetizing it.
Right.
I've always been a huge advocate for people having their own thing outside of work.
But isn't it also like cool because you get to do it for yourself?
You get to do it for yourself.
You know, even if you do have a 9 to 5, it's something that you can do, like you said, keep your creative juices flowing, but it's also for you. It's not always for the person you're working for, the company or the brand that you're working for. It's something that you are building for you on the side.
Yes.
And that's pretty cool.
It is. And I think in general, it's not good to have so much of your identity tied into where you work or what your job is, right? We're expansive people.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true because you get lost. This is the whole thing of when people get lost in their jobs.
They can get lost in their jobs. And like if you've been working on a project and it gets killed and it's the only thing you've been working on, it can be devastating.
That is devastating. That can be devastating, especially the time and energy and all that stuff like that. But it's this power of being able to put the time and energy into yourself, right? To like take that. And I know that for me, when I was pregnant, and like at first I was like modeling for so long and then acting and all the things, I never felt like any of it was for me though. You know, not until I became a mom did I really start to put an emphasis on, okay, what do I want to build? What is it for me and not for everybody else? I'm not just a pawn in everyone else's movie or anyone else's, you know, fashion campaign or whatever it is. What is it that I, Lizzie Mathis, wants to build? And that's where I kind of started the whole site and, you know, now podcasts and all those things.
Yes.
But it was like that. So let's fast forward a little bit because you got married pretty young though, right?
Looking back, freakishly young.
Yeah, right.
Freakishly young.
In today's standards, right?
In today's standards, like, and also like New York and LA standards. Like I was 24.
Yeah.
I was 23 when I was 23 when I got engaged, 24 when I got married.
Yeah.
I mean, in the rest of the world, it's not
totally
super
normal.
young.
Yeah,
but
it's absolutely like the average.
But I was the first wedding that I went to out of all of, I mean, no one had been to a wedding. I had not been to a wedding. Like my wedding was my first wedding that I've attended. Yes.
That's interesting. I mean, you know what's so funny? I think I can relate to that a little bit.
Were you
I'm
really
trying
young
to
when you got
think
married?
How old I was when I got married. I was probably like 28.
Okay.
I was like 27, 28.
But like,
so I had a
I feel
few
like
years
that's still
on you.
young.
It's still young in today's time because looking back on it, I was never the girl who I was like, you know what? I just want to get married.
Oh, me neither.
And have babies.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like that wasn't my thing. Not that there was
Absolutely.
anything. I had friends who were like that. And I was like, yes, girl, I can't wait till you get married. I can't
Right.
wait till you have kids. I can't. And like, but for me, it never clicked in for me like that. So for me, I was the first one of my friends to get married as well. And the first one to have children.
Okay. See, we literally, on our wedding day, we were like, when are we going to start having kids? And we said we want to wait 5 years.
Okay.
And like 5 years, like to the month, we started and got pregnant. But
And why 5 years? What was that about the 5-year number that just stood out to you guys?
so I think it was one because I was young and we just wanted time to enjoy being married and traveling, and not that we don't enjoy those things now, but as you know, it's different. How long were you married before you had?
I was married for probably about like 4 years.
Okay, and aren't you so grateful for that time?
I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm so grateful for it, but at the same time, I'm like, what did we do? Like, did we really even do like what?
I know.
Was there anything that we really got done? You know why? Because I tell people this all the time too. I don't think I would have ever been ready for kids. Even when I had kids, I don't think I was really ready for kids. Like it still was like a shock to the system. It still changed and flipped everything in my orbit. So when people say that, oh, I just want to be ready, I'm like, well, good luck, because it's like, it's never the perfect time.
I mean,
Did you guys feel like that?
there's never a good time. There's never a good, you never have enough time or enough money. Like
That's right.
it's you're not going to be like, oh, I have all of this free time. I should get pregnant.
And
like,
I have all this free money. Maybe I should just put in a child.
All of these additional resources have come up. Like this is the perfect time.
Yeah.
There is no perfect time. I think that's really important to understand, and it changes your life completely.
It really does. But you also were pregnant during COVID, no?
I was pregnant during COVID, which, I was thinking about COVID the other day, us all being in lockdown. It was kind of this trauma. It's, they say like we don't speak about the war.
Yeah.
It was like this collective trauma that we all emerged from.
Mm-hmm.
But it fundamentally, I think, changed all of us.
Oh, it really did. I totally agree. And it's funny because although it was like crazy and it was trauma, that's a great word for it, sometimes don't you look back on it and you're like, I kind of miss it. Like there was a little part of it where I was like, I liked just being settled in a way.
Yes. The being inside part and not having all of these plans was great. But there was a very real fear for older members of your family and, just that constant concern for everyone's health and safety.
The health for sure.
I mean,
but the moment of slowing down, the being forced to slow down where you had no other option. It wasn't paid leave. It wasn't like, it was, you had to slow down. I think being forced into that is sometimes the moments of what like I miss slightly, because there is no being forced anymore, unless you literally get COVID and you have to go into, you know what I mean? Like lockdown or whatever, and like isolation. There's nothing like that can really slow you down. It's so busy. How do you do that as a working mom? So you're pregnant during COVID.
Yes.
You have the baby who's now 4.
Three. I'm like, don't add any more ages. Every month, I'm like, no, you're getting older. Don't get older. Yes, he's 3 now. And being pregnant during COVID, I mean, to your point about everyone being still, it's like I didn't miss out on anything. Like there was no like FOMO. There was no like, oh, everyone's going to this party, I can't go. It's like I'm just home in my sweatpants pregnant, like everyone else is home in their sweatpants. So the timing of that was great. But he was born September 2020.
Nice. I mean, that's a beautiful thing though. I think even just having that moment, that's probably, your experience is probably so different from most women, right? Who didn't have children necessarily during COVID, but just like having to find the time to also focus on pregnancy and being pregnant and enjoying those moments. I think that's a gift.
Yeah.
And it's not something that everyone gets. Normally you're so busy, you're still like juggling so many things. You don't even get to sit down until the last like month, if that.
Yeah,
How
that's
was
true.
it having that experience at home throughout your pregnancy?
I mean, just now as you said it, it's occurred to me that it's totally different and unique to most people's
I'm like,
experience.
You don't even know any different.
Yeah, I don't know anything different, right? Yeah. So I feel, in a way, the timing was great for me.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. You lucked up, girl. Look, you lucked up. Everyone at home was like, listen, if I could have chosen when to have a child, that's when I would have chosen.
Yeah.
Just because, well, you know what? Let me take that back. There's probably a lot of scary things that probably you were going through at the time, though, too. Because with COVID, bringing life into a world in such an unstable situation that the world was going through.
Yes.
Just from a medical standpoint, was your husband allowed to go with you to places?
He was not allowed to come with me to doctor's appointments.
Scary.
And it's just like you're like double masked up going to your, it was medically tense.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can imagine. Like that's not fun.
Yeah.
So being at home, great, but then the whole other side of it, that's not a cool. No, not at all.
Just also a really quick note. If you're loving this content, our podcast with all of our amazing guests, we love sharing their stories. It really is such a joy for us. Then you're going to love thecoolmom.co. Make sure to head over there. It is everything that you can think of lifestyle. So we have fashion, food, we have amazing interviews with a lot of other cool moms as well. So check out all of our Cool Mom Co features, shop our merch, do all the things. Check out thecoolmom.co.
So we have our son now. You are totally now in full on podcast mode, building your brand.
Yes. Entrepreneur mode.
Yes. Let's talk about how that's been now as a new mom, essentially. I mean, 3-year-old, you're in the game, but it's still fresh.
It's still fresh, learning every day. I will say that I work so much harder than I ever have worked before. Working for yourself is no joke.
It's no joke.
Right? And I feel like you're your own toughest critic, most demanding boss, right?
Yes.
Because you're holding yourself accountable to a very high standard. I hold myself accountable to a very high standard.
Well, you know the vision.
You know the vision, exactly. I have the vision of what I want this to become, and I'm like sprinting towards the vision.
That's right.
And I'm not proud of this, but there are several days a week where I'm like, it's 4:00, I haven't eaten lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way, unfortunately.
Because you just wake up and you go and you're doing meetings and you're like, and you have to really build in breaks for yourself. You have to say no to things.
How are you doing that? How are you building breaks and saying no to things?
So 2 things. One of the things that I learned that I think I'm so grateful that I got this lesson from, I went to the Leading Women Defined conference for the next generation of women leaders under 35. It was great. And one of the things that I heard from one of the mentors was that she does only 15 meetings a week, meaning that could be 3 meetings a day for the 5 days of the week, or maybe one day she has,
7.
4 meetings and the next day she has none. But when I think about the one-to-ones I have with my team, external meetings I take, even podcast recording, I try not to overload my schedule, and that's a new thing. I think having a virtual assistant has helped me a lot with managing my schedule.
Wow.
And also building in breaks, building in breaks to my schedule where you do not schedule over those breaks.
That's right.
And then every Friday, very rare exceptions, I do not go out on Fridays. Fridays is for rest, to recuperate, to reset.
Friday nights?
Friday evening, nothing.
Girl, it's so funny. I just started that too.
Oh, really?
I've been doing it for I've probably been doing it for a good 2 months now.
It's the best.
But I'd started doing it not even realizing. I like to keep Friday evenings for family time because it's the end of the week. I love to hang out with my kids. I love to watch a movie, order takeout, whatever it is.
Yes. Heavy on the ordering.
I'm all in it, but it's I know that Friday nights I will not schedule a dinner. I will not schedule pretty much anything. Some things come up, but I will not, for the most part, I'm really intentional about Friday evenings.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that Friday is your day.
Well, I mean, I think it's the end of the week. It's been so hectic. It's you just want to relax and take a bath and just be at home. And so that's helpful.
I love that. I like the fact that you have actionable tips around it though, because a lot of times I think us as women, especially as mothers, we say it and we get lost in it, and then it's hard for us to implement it. So I love the fact that you're no, on Fridays, this is my thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I try not to do this many meetings, breaks throughout the day. I think it's important, and I think we all have to take that in.
It's very important. I think it's also important to talk to your kids about self-care and taking breaks. So I explained to my son, okay, mommy's going on a hike right now. I'm going to go alone. I'm going to bring my headphones, and this is time for myself so that I can have more energy to come back and play with you and talk to you and daddy. And I'm going to go take a bath right now. mommy needs the door closed. I need this time for myself so that I can feel refreshed and have more energy. Like explaining, I think, also to your kids the practice of self-care.
Does he understand it though? Like, does he respect it?
He absolutely understands it.
Really?
Yes. And
That's
sometimes he'll
great.
come with me on the walk if he wants to. But yeah, I think he understands it. And I think little people just kind of understand I think they're like sponges.
I think they're sponges as long as you implement it in a consistent manner. I think like if you are saying it like once every blah, blah, and you just throw it away, whatever. But I think they know what's important to you. Like they know what's important to mommy and daddy. And so then they take it as, oh, okay, this is important. Like I need to like listen to this.
Right.
So I agree if you are serious about it and it sounds like the way you implement it is like, intentional.
Oh, yes. I feel like for people that are type A, you have to schedule self-care.
Yeah.
Like it has to be, it's not just going to magically come up that you have time to do it. And I also think it's so interesting. I mean, on my podcast all the time, we talk about what self-care is. For me, getting a manicure is a chore.
Yeah.
Getting my nails done.
Oh, it feels like nail jail.
Nails, I mean, your hands are literally bound.
Oh my God, I hate it. I hate it so bad. I'm
It's
always
a chore.
like, oh.
It's not a self-care moment.
And I'm always taking my hand and I'm always like pulling it back and she's like, no.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. So getting a manicure, pedicure, that is a chore on the to-do list. It's not a self-care moment.
Right.
When I want real, genuine self-care just for myself, I have to schedule it.
What is genuine self-care for you?
So for me, it's my walks. I do my like long walks listening to podcasts. That's like my favorite thing to do.
Morning or the middle of the day?
I do it in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. So now it's getting there was a time like in the deep winter here where like it was getting dark at 4:30 and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I've got to get out earlier.
Exactly.
But I'll do it like around 4:30, like 5, now that it's getting a little bit lighter.
So towards the end of your day.
End of my day.
Before you come home and you like get all the things together for.
Before the nanny leaves.
Yeah, before the
we all know
bathroom,
that
all
time.
the things, like all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's your time.
That's my time. And then again, like taking baths, my skincare routine.
Girl, let's talk about it.
But nothing's going to get in between me and my skincare routine. Like I am going to do it every single night. You do a routine every night, I would imagine.
Okay, but see, this is interesting. And this is what I love because routine gives the impression that we're talking about more than a 2-step process.
No. To me, routine means consistency.
Okay, I like this.
A routine can be washing your face and putting on moisturizer, but that's your routine.
That's my routine right
Okay.
there. Wash
And
my
every
face,
single
I
night.
put on moisturizer. I am very religious about taking off my makeup.
Yes.
I do not play. And it's because during my teenage years and my early 20s, when I used to forget, I used to break out. Like
course.
crazy. And I was like, nope. And so I got to a point for, years and years now. Now that's my one thing. I could be knocked out on the couch, like half dead asleep. And I'm like, nope, gotta get up.
Yes.
It's like that and wrapping my hair. I'm like
wrapping your hair.
religious about those two things. I cannot play.
I know.
So what is your skin routine? And for whoever is not watching this podcast, let me just explain to you. I'm going to give you a very descriptive of Brooke's
thank you. I'm ready
skin
for
right
this.
now.
Yes.
So it looks like butter.
Oh, thank you.
It looks like
You have beautiful skin as
smooth-
well.
Well, thank you. I will take that in because look, I'm telling you that it's a job. Like it's a job.
Yes.
But Brooke has the most beautiful skin. I mean, you always look flawless with or without makeup.
Thank you.
It's phenomenal. You're always glowing. So what is your skin routine?
So it's interesting. I think for a glow, it's really about exfoliation and hydration. So I use some chemical exfoliants and some physical exfoliants.
Girl, no. Hold on. You're not answering this correctly because look, I want to know a breakdown of like
The brands.
daily. No,
Okay.
not the
Oh.
brands necessarily. They can go to
Daily.
your podcast for that. But yes, because I know you have all the brands. But daily, like what do you do on the morning and at night? Like your morning routine is what and your evening routine is what?
So morning routine, if I've done retinol or any actives the night before, I'm washing my face.
Okay.
If I've done no actives, I'm not going to wash my face.
So you don't wash your face in the morning if you've done no retinols the night before?
Yes, because my skin tends to be more dry.
Oh, okay.
And so you can kind of strip your skin of its natural moisture if you overwash it.
Okay. So in the morning, nothing. You just go, you put on moisturizer still?
Oh yes, well, so yeah,
after,
this was just part one. So part one is like if I wash my face or not.
I'm not meaning to rush you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm so excited.
If it's a no face wash day, I will do a hydrating spray. So I'll do like a rose water to basically like rehydrate my skin. I think that's a big tip that a lot of people overlook. Your skin has to be primed to like suck in products. So the same way that, and I was just talking to my husband about this, he was like, oh, you put your lotion on like after the shower, like not when I'm like, yeah, of course. Like while your skin skin is damp. Like,
Yeah.
I
Wait
know,
a minute. Did he put lotion on before the shower?
well, no. But once he was already dry, like once his body
yes.
was dry.
Oh, yeah.
You
You're
know,
saying
but
it has to be like the first, 120 seconds or something.
yeah, like you want your
One time.
skin to still be damp so
Yeah.
that your skin can drink in the moisture. And a lot of moisturizers act as an occlusive. It basically traps in the water from. So even when you were putting on moisturizer when you first wake up in the morning, if you haven't washed your face before, you still need to like rehydrate your skin.
I see.
You know, give it some water.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll do a rose water spray, and then I will go in usually with a serum, a hydrating serum or a vitamin C serum.
Okay.
And then, go ahead.
Depending on the day, depending on how your skin feels.
Yeah, depending on how my skin feels.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll layer serums.
Okay.
So a hydrating serum or a vitamin C serum, or sometimes both. Then a sunscreen.
Yeah.
That is like the most critical must-have.
And do you like a sunscreen that lives on its own, or do you like a sunscreen mixed in a makeup or a lotion?
I'll do a sunscreen on its own and then makeup over it. So
Okay.
if I do a mineral sunscreen, I have to do foundation over because it's just that white cast.
Yeah.
You're not
so
going
this
to
is
find.
what I'm going to ask, because
Yes.
you are beautiful and brown.
Yes.
And I find that a lot of the sunscreens always have a cast over them. So it's hard for me to wear sunscreen that's not mixed into product already.
Yes.
So what is your favorite sunscreen for our skin complexion?
So for people that are really concerned about having a white cast, I think chemical sunscreens are the way to go. Some people are like religious, like they have to wear mineral sunscreen. I think chemical sunscreens are just fine. Dermatologists agree with me on this point. So I think Supergoop makes incredible sunscreens. I love the Unseen sunscreen that's completely clear. I love the Daily Moisturizer. That's a great sunscreen. Bolden, which is a Black-owned brand, makes an incredible SPF that I love.
Nice.
Black Girl sunscreen is amazing.
Nice.
And Shiseido makes wonderful sunscreens as well. I feel like the technology, I mean, Shiseido is just an incredible brand overall, but the technology behind their sunscreens is wonderful. And they have a new one with vitamin C in it that I love too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very informational. I love
Yes.
that. Okay, continue. So we're in the morning.
Yeah, so
that's it.
I'll do the sunscreen and then I do my eye cream and then I'm good to go. Then I usually do makeup.
And so you do eye cream in the morning before you
Yes.
leave too?
Yes, I do an eye cream. I do eye cream morning and at night.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is okay. This is a lot more than my 2-step program.
Yeah, well, you know, it's I've gotten into the habit of doing it. It's kind of like working out, right? Like if you spend a lot of time working out on your body, then your body's going to be better. I feel like if
Yeah.
you spend a lot of time caring for your skin is going to benefit.
Okay, so at night, you're rinsing off makeup. It's all the
Yes.
things. What are you using?
So I do a double cleanse at night.
Okay, me
so
too. But do you do a double cleanse with oil, or do you do a double cleanse with an oil cleanser?
first step is usually an oil or a balm cleanser. I feel like that's just really good to take off makeup. And then I'll go in with either a foaming cleanser or a gel cleanser. And then I go in with my actives. So I'll spot treat. So right now I have some hyperpigmentation. So I'm using a little bit of hydroquinone that my dermatologist prescribed.
Yep.
So I'll spot treat there, do a little bit of tretinoin, a little retinol.
Yep. Do you swear by retinol?
I've gone on and off of retinol. I'm not
I
a
swear by
diehard.
retinol.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard.
And the research backs you up there.
I am a diehard
Yes.
retinol fan just
Yes.
because I think once I started using it, I started breaking out less.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always break out around my period. So like
Yes,
I have like
hormonal.
the cystic hormonal, like, things that come up.
Yes.
I feel like if I'm religious with my retinol, unless I'm dried out, because sometimes like if I wear a lot of makeup and then after I exfoliate, I'm a little dry. So I don't like putting retinol
Mm-hmm.
on. But like retinol has been a game changer for me. I just feel like it's so great.
It's so well done. Like the research behind retinol is like there's no debate. It makes your skin better.
Yeah.
Every dermatologist will tell you it makes your skin better.
Which one do you think is better though? Over the counter retinol or prescribed from dermatologists?
Definitely prescription.
Yeah.
They can one, I think it's really helpful to have a dermatologist kind of guide you through your retinol journey because a lot of people break out as they start using retinol. And I've also been on different retinol prescriptions. So I've used Atrilin, which is a gel-based retinol. That wasn't as good for me. It dried my skin out. Then I moved to Altrino, which is a lotion-based retinol. So being able to have those conversations with your doctor, I think is really helpful.
Important. Yeah.
And retinol, I mean, you have to be really diligent about sun protection while you're using retinol because it can make hyperpigmentation much darker. I mean, it makes your skin more sensitive. So
yeah. That's interesting. I mean, listen, we're all busy moms on the go.
yes.
Like time is of the essence. When you're trying to get everything situated, you're packing for a trip. Let's do this. This is a great question. If you're packing for a trip, you're trying to pack everybody up. You only have a couple of minutes to grab a couple of things. What are your items that you're grabbing?
Oh,
For
toiletry,
beauty.
like toiletry wise. my sunscreen 100%, a lip oil. Like I love the Amicole lip oil. That is like in every single bag. I'm like, I cannot have dry lips. Do you feel the same way?
Yes.
It just like bothers me to my
Girl,
core.
since middle school. Cannot have dry lips. I mean, one person talked about me one time and that was it. It took one teasing and it stayed.
Forever. And then I would say a fragrance. I love fragrance. I feel like it does so much for your mood and your energy. And I was somewhere recently and I forgot to pack fragrance with me. And I was like, I just feel lost. Like, who am I without my fragrance?
You know what's interesting? My husband is so sensitive to scents and smells that I never wear fragrance.
I totally understand that a lot of fragrances can be very overwhelming and give you a headache. I'm developing a fragrance right now. I've been working on it for about a year now, and it's just so interesting to learn about the different notes and people's sensitivities. And a lot of fragrances are overbearing and cloying and
it's just
can make you feel.
And a lot of them also have synthetic, right? Like ingredients.
A lot of them have synthetic ingredients, but also some synthetic ingredients have come a long way. There's this new brand I'm really interested in called Future Society, where they resurrect extinct flowers by working in a lab to make basically bioidentical versions of like a rose that's gone extinct.
Wow.
So it's a synthetic, and some people are saying that synthetic is actually more environmentally friendly because we're not basically taking the resources from the earth. So if you can create a rose oil that's identical in a lab, why take 1,000 rose petals to make like this much oil?
That's a good point. That's a really good
point.
So
it's interesting. The conversation around synthetics and fragrance I feel like it's an area that's developing.
I can imagine. I mean, it seems like it would be just because our technology is changing so quickly and so fast paced, right? All right. So as a mom who is a founder now of a company, you're working for yourself. What are some of the challenges that you find in your day-to-day? Like, what are some of the things that you're like, damn, if only I had 5 more hands?
Well, Lizzie, I think you'll relate to this because I feel like you're out and about, right? You go to these events in LA.
It's hard.
It's a full-on production to
really
like
is.
Get yourself situated and ready and there, and it can take a lot of time. So one of the things that I do now, this is a new thing, I spend an hour or 2 on a Monday planning all of my outfits for the week.
You do not.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Because when else are you going to find the time? Are you going to get ready like right before the event? That's very stressful.
Brooke, you spend an hour just planning out your events for the week?
For the week, yeah. Like just my all of my outfits, so I don't have to think about it. And I actually have a separate rack that's in my office where I like put out my clothes like Monday through Friday.
Oh my God. I'm like so obsessed with this right now just because
it's very helpful.
Organization is like phenomenal.
It's very helpful.
Oh my God. That wowed me. And
it's as simple as just kind of like looking at the weather, looking at where you need to be, thinking about what your days are, and then just like having that laid out is so helpful. And I mean, a lot of people here in LA, they work with stylists, they work with they have teams that help them get ready.
Of course.
In the absence of that, when you're a team of one, I find it's very helpful to kind of just like lay out everything.
That's a game changer.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? That's a game changer. I mean, if I could do that for my kids, even just lay out their week, if I could do that for myself, that's a game changer across the board.
Yeah. So I find that helps a lot. I've transitioned now to being a smoothie person because like I said earlier, it gets to become 4:00 and I'm like, I haven't eaten.
Yeah.
So now I've like learned how to make protein-packed smoothies for myself to have like midday so that I can like continue powering on.
What's your breakfast? What is your breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast.
Do you not? You just like power through?
I've never been a breakfast person. Do you eat breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast every morning.
Okay.
But I do try on mornings that I can squeeze something in to try and put something on my stomach because I know that I'll power through the day and I won't snack. I won't do much. And I'll look up and it'll be like 3:00 and I'll be like, why am I tired, lethargic, and my stomach hurts?
I know.
It'll be because I haven't eaten anything else all day.
Yes.
So smoothies are a great option though. So I love that.
Smoothies are a great option. And I've fallen victim to the $21 Erewhon smoothie. Hate that I love it, but it's good.
Yeah.
The Erewhon smoothies are good. So yeah, having smoothies, planning out your day. And then I think just being really diligent about your schedule and like having working blocks, like from 3 to 4:00, I'm going to work on this concept that I have. I'm going to work on this script that I'm developing. I'm going to work on this business plan that I have. I'm going to develop the launch plan for a product that I'm working on. But having those like working blocks in your calendar is a game changer because you don't ever find the time unless you make the time.
Do you stick to them pretty well?
I try to.
Because I'll put out the working blocks and then I'll
Yes.
move right past them. I'll be like, nope, I'm really stuck on this and I have to get this done. And I'll go past 3 more blocks.
Yeah, it's hard. But I also think that as a creative, it's so important to have space to think.
Yeah.
Like you can't just be in back-to-back meetings.
I agree.
You need 2 to 3 hours at a time to just think and pull together all of your inspiration and pull together. Right now I'm working on the kind of tone and ambiance of the fragrance campaign that I'm doing. How do I want the photo shoot to be? What do I want to communicate? What's the value prop? Why should someone buy my fragrance versus another fragrance?
That's right.
But I can't do that in half an hour in between calls.
I love that you're bringing your audience with you on this journey.
I think that's very important. And I think that's a huge tip for people that don't have a big budget and are entrepreneurs doing it by yourself. Take your audience along the journey with you and show them in real time how you're developing your products or your podcast or your
as well,
yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Yeah. It's really I think it's a phenomenal marketing tool because what you're doing is you're engaging your audience before they even become your customer.
Yes.
And so if a customer feels like they are a built-in, like this was your brand was built for them, then they feel a lot more a part of it. It feels like you just said, it feels community.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's really special. So I love how you're bringing your audience along during this journey, and even your like new logo, your new look and feel. What are the next stages for Naked Beauty?
So I have the fragrance that's launching. I have these heatless hair rollers that I'm obsessed with, and I'm so excited to sell those because I have this whole thought about the experience of getting ready. You should feel glamorous and you should feel really good as you're getting ready. So I designed a cashmere robe that launched in December.
I love this.
That I'm like, I get so excited when I see people with the cashmere robes. And then I have the hair curlers because you shouldn't be in like these ugly flexi rods like that you're embarrassed to like even answer the door.
And where can you pick all this stuff up at Naked Beauty?
So the robe is with Garen Official. It's a cashmere brand. So my friend Nagarin, who I met when I was living in London, she's had this cashmere brand for a few years now, and she's such a talented designer. So we collaborated on that. And then the fragrance and the hair rollers coming soon.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay, because I saw a tidbit of the hair rollers. I feel like you put a little sneak peek out.
I made them in 2020, and I've had them since 2020. But then, life happens, and I really wanted to get the new logo and the brand identity. I wanted to make sure that I was releasing it in a way that was intentional
and authentic to your brand.
Yes, and that I had a brand. You know, I didn't have a brand identity before, a solid one.
Yeah. No, I love this. I love this new phase for you. I love this new the way you are expanding Naked Beauty into lifestyle, into more of a way that people can experience all the things that you're working on the podcast. You're so knowledgeable about the beauty space and your own experiences and where you've come from and all the things that you use. But I love it because you put a lot of intention and research into what it is. It's not just like, oh, I like this because it's a cream and it feels good. Yes. You're like, no, I like it because it has this, it has this. I'm more prone to this, and that. This is something that is up for debate. Yes. I like that you're explaining it to us and your audience, because it gives us a lot more information,
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's the responsibility of creators, influencers, to educate their audience, right? Like you're in service to your audience. That's what I always say. I'm in service to my audience. And I also think it's been important for me to realize that I have a lot of power when I'm speaking to brands to make the deals work for me. And when I say that, what I mean is a lot of times you'll get a brief and they'll say, we want you to talk about this new moisturizer. It's launching in 2 weeks and we need your deliverables next week. 4 days is not enough time for me to decide if I even like this product. I need dedicated time with the product. Wow. I need to see how my skin reacts to it. I need to isolate this product from the rest of my routine so that I can speak to it with some degree of authority and credibility. And I think that the audience can feel that. They can feel if you're just like shilling a different product every week and that you haven't really had the time to learn about it. So I think the integrity behind the way you partner with brands is really important to me as well.
Is that why it was important for you to start your own though? Because you wanted to have a little bit more control over the quality and like what was included? I mean, you could always partner with a fragrance brand. You could always partner with, whoever it is. Yeah.
I mean, I think for now I'm going to continue to do both. I mean, I love partnering with incredible brands that are making great products and helping more people discover them. And starting my own was just like starting Naked Beauty, like starting all things. It was this is not something that I'm able to find, so I have to make it. I could not find a podcast like Naked Beauty. I could not find women having candid conversations about beauty and self-care and self-expression in a way that I found exciting, so I started the podcast. I could not find a beautiful way to, the hair curlers I was using. I mean, it's like you can't even sleep. There's the ones that I'm designing are soft, and I was designing something that I needed. This fragrance, it's something that I am obsessed with and I wear it all the time. I can't find this fragrance. It's like a neroli and green tea fragrance. I can't find it on shelves now.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of been creating out of this, I can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah,
so I'm
you're
gonna make
creating
it.
what's missing.
Yeah.
You're creating something that you love, that other people can relate to and also love.
Yes.
And you know that it's missing in the market.
Yes. And for years, people have asked me about skincare. Personally, being deep in the space, I don't feel that there is much in the skincare space that's missing. I don't feel like, oh, why isn't there this?
Right.
Which is why I have not forayed into developing skincare, because it hasn't felt
necessary.
Yeah. We've got a lot of skincare products out there.
There's a lot of skincare products out there. Listen, I mean, I think there's a lot of products out there, period. But I do think that there is something special, especially someone like you can bring to the market, because not only are you knowledgeable, you're also using it. You're in your day-to-day life. You know what the lifestyle is. Whether you're a busy woman, a busy mom, whatever it is, like, you know all these things. So you know how to make something that's going to fit that lifestyle that people can relate to you for. And so that's what makes it special.
Yeah. I think the other point that I want to make just about beauty and being a mother is that you can always reinvent yourself. Like, I think I hear from so many people that after motherhood, they feel like they lose themselves or they don't know, like, okay, I've had this child. Who am I? How do I dress? How do I show up?
That?
I personally felt, I'd say that right after I gave birth, I did not feel attractive. I did not like the way that I felt in my body, because I felt so different in my body. And I was so sleep deprived, as we all are.
All of us
as we all are. So it took a lot more to feel like I love what I see in the mirror. But I think that as we get older and as we develop and as our roles change, you have to kind of like, I think about it as like mood boarding, like your own self-expression and your own presentation and being intentional about it. Like, even when I think about how I'm going to change my hair or how I'm going to wear my makeup for something or what outfit I'm going to wear, I think about, like, what's the final look that I want to give? And not just think
the vision, girl. You
the
all
vision.
about vision.
Yes. But I always encourage moms to, like, think about, like, what is your style? How do you want to show up in the world? And a good way to start is, like, who speaks to you? Like, whose style do you admire? And then you kind of, like, grab from there and just kind of like to develop and develop a point of view about how you want to show up. I think it's really easy to just like grab the first clean thing or do your hair in a way that's just going to be like out of your face and out of the way. But I feel like it's really important to remember that, like, we have permission to design and think about the way we self-present.
Wow, we have permission to design and think about the way we self-present to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so fun, right?
Oh my God, it's so fun. It's so fun. I just love hearing you talk about it because it all sounds so intentional. Okay, I'm going to spit some things at you really quick.
Okay, yes. This is like a rapid fire.
I want you, yes, it is rapid fire-ish. It's really like a this or that, but I want to get your take on some this or that.
Okay, ready.
Okay. Breastfeeding versus bottle feeding.
Whatever works for you. I had to do both. I had to breastfeed and then follow up with bottle because I didn't know if he was getting enough. And
I love that.
You remember that stress.
That's right, girl. Yes, I do. Yes. Whatever works for you. Perfect answer. Home cooked meal versus takeout.
Home cooked meal when I can, but takeout when resources don't allow you to cook.
That's right. When time doesn't allow you to cook.
Yes,
right?
time is the resource.
Which one do you love more, the newborn stage or now the toddler stage?
Oh, that's so hard. I think I like the toddler stage because we can actually talk and have conversations, but the newborn stage is so sweet.
It's very sweet, but then I keep remembering the nights that I'm up like all night long, the sleepless nights, and I'm like, I'm really loving this toddler stage. Like, they move around and we talk, have conversations. It's so much better.
Yes, having a full night of unbroken sleep is a game changer.
It's such a game changer. Yes. Creams versus oils.
Ooh, I love an oil. I love an oil.
Me too. I love a body oil.
I'm body oil.
I'm obsessed. Because you know why? I don't like to be cold. So coming out the bath, sometimes if my creams are cold, I hate it. I will put on an oil all day long.
I love a body oil.
Natural versus glam.
For beauty?
Yeah.
Glam. I'm going to say glam.
Okay.
Because it's fun and you can express yourself.
I love it. You look good in glam. Heels versus flats.
Flats.
What, girl? You wearing heels now? You learn a little kid.
I'm wearing a little tiny.
Yeah, you are.
The
You
tiniest heel of heels.
I'm literally wearing gym shoes. This is my everyday. I can only live in gym shoes. I love the fact that you even showed up in a kitten heel. I'm so impressed. Solo date versus date night.
Oh, meaning like
Solo date
table
by
for
yourself
one.
or date night.
Date night.
Yeah?
Date night. I think I get a lot of my self-care solo time. Again, bath, skincare routine, my walks. Like I get good one-on-one time with myself, but I love date night with my husband.
Oh, I love that too. I am writing an article right now though on solo dates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and like what that looks like and how us as women, how we forget to take them though. Like we
That's
forget
so
that this whole
true.
like taking ourselves out and spoiling ourselves is an actual thing.
Yes. Do you go on solo dates?
I mean, not a whole lot, but I think that it's an intention that I'd like to start, you know,
Yes.
just because I think there's an importance behind it.
Totally.
You know, I think we forget about it sometimes ourselves. All right, last one, working for yourself versus working for corporate America.
Working in corporate until you can learn enough to work for yourself.
I like that. I like that. Take it as a learning lesson, as a tool to the
Absolutely.
next.
You're getting paid to learn.
Yeah. I like how you said that in the beginning, though. You learn so much about even the smallest of tasks.
Yes, you learn on the job. You're getting paid a salary, but you're taking it as an opportunity to learn and develop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end it on this. Finish this sentence.
Okay.
I'm a cool mom. Of course
Oof, I'm a cool mom. Of course oh gosh, I don't know. I'm a cool mom. Of course I spend a lot of time on my skincare routine and self-care.
Yes.
I think that's a cool thing to do.
That's a cool thing to do. Are you kidding?
Yes.
That's cool for Brooke DeVard. That's a cool thing to do. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so
Thank
much
you so much for
joining
having me.
us.
This was so fun.
I'm so excited for everyone to hear this episode.
Yay, great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.